14th is President's Day, and schools and offices are closed. Tuesday, February 23rd is a school committee business meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Dr. Auger, do you have any presentations or recognitions?
I just would like to recognize two items. First, congratulations to Christopher Cook from the high school. If you have not heard Christopher sing, you need to do so because he has a voice that will absolutely blow you away. You cannot imagine that the bass that comes out of that body of his. It's really remarkable. And he has been selected for the Carnegie Hall Honors Chorus, which is a huge national recognition. So congratulations to him. Also, I got some information, and you have this in front of you, panel, but I would like to take a moment to read this point about Blessings in a Backpack program. That we have a nationally recognized program that is run with the help of volunteers in support of the local community. 100% of all donations go toward purchasing easy-to-prepare foods for students experiencing food insecurity. Students receive a backpack filled with food items each Friday throughout the year. The cost is approximately $100 per student per year, which is about $2.40 a week. Our goal is to have this program available to students in the North Kingstown schools. At this time, 100 NKSD students participate weekly from the following schools: Davisville, Quidnesset, Fishing Cove, Davisville Academy, and Forest Park. In support of this effort, our community groups and churches, St. Francis de Sales, Quidnesset Baptist Church, Christ the King, Slocum Grange, and the town of North Kingstown all support this. Local businesses like Dave's, Great Harvest Bread, John's Bait and Tackle, White Chart Realtors, Torrey Plastics, Tarbox Toyota, Socrates Pizza, Atlantic Technical Sales, T&J Sharp, North Atlantic Distribution Incorporated, Noonie Controls Corporation, Kaiser Tree, Grenco Incorporated, Coventry Credit Union, Vermaline Products, and Fresh Wave Frozen Yogurt all support this. And also a big thank you to Representatives Craven and Costa for seeking out legislative grants. I've just signed our applications for those, so we're hoping to get more funding for this program through them. So tremendous community effort. Big thank you to Cindy Bowe for spearheading this effort, and Jackie Trainer with her from our Office of Family Learning. This is a wonderful thing for our community, and it's obviously bringing a lot of people together. And so I wanted to recognize that tonight so people are aware of it. And, if you're interested in supporting it, I'm sure you can call Cindy Bowe at 541-6354. That's a district phone number from our Office of Family Learning. And she can help you to make a contribution. So thank you. Thank you to everybody for their participation in this. It's a great effort. That's all I have.
I have one question on the calendar. Phil, has the teaching days impacted the calendar, to your knowledge?
The school calendar? Well, we will have 2 additional days of school at the end of the year. Okay. Those are days we have to make up, yeah.
Even though we took away the February vacation? So because we started after Labor Day.
Well, we have 180 days without the February vacation. So, but taking away the February vacation makes it easier to add 2 days at the end. That's part of the reason why we did it. It kind of gives us a nice buffer zone in June to have room for extra days if we need them. We were running into, in particular in the years where we had some hurricanes recently, we were going right into the very last week of June, and that can start to cause a problem if you actually have to go over into July. As you know, school contracts go from July to July. So crossing that threshold is something I'm not sure, I don't know if it's legal or not, but it's definitely discouraged. So, and people's vacations start playing into all of that too. So you really don't want to go there. And this makes it, without the February vacation, it makes it a lot easier to absorb a couple of snow days when you need to.
And in terms of seniors and graduation?
The seniors with the graduation, their graduation date is not moved. It would take a lot more than 2 snow days to do that.
Yeah.
Dr. Biancieri?
I understand that no one signed up for citizens' comments, but I just want to ask if there's someone who didn't sign the sheet that wanted to get up to speak. Oh, okay. You can come up and just please state your name and address.
Sure.
Sure.
Andrea Vento, 40 Cassandra Lane, North Kingstown. I'd just like to say a brief word in support of school start time change, especially at the high school. I know budgets are tight, but the scientific research is really very compelling that early morning start times produce chronic sleep deprivation in adolescents. And the research shows that they then go on to suffer increased rates of anxiety, depression, obesity, diabetes, and a whole host of other health issues. So I really encourage you to find a way to implement a later start time at the high school. Other schools, many other schools throughout Rhode Island either already have a later start time or have been paying attention to that scientific research and have plans to move to later start times. So I urge you to do what you can within the budget constraints that you have to make a change for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Hoskins, 26 Sylvan Court. I agree on the school start time change as well, that it's for the high school as well as for the elementary school. We have the latest start time in the state of Rhode Island at 9:25. Our kids are up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, so by the time they go to school, they're tired. They're getting off the bus at 4:15 in the dark. I think that moving it 20 minutes for $400,000, it's a hard pill to swallow. I understand that that's what it costs. We looked at other towns in Barrington and other places that were proposing school start time changes, and they're running into the same things. So again, it's, trying to figure out what we can do within the constraints of the budget, and just remembering that, it's much better for our children in the elementary schools to be starting earlier and the high schools to be starting later. On that note, I also implore you to add more TAs to Stony Lane's elementary school, that as kids come in from the preschool and with the changes in the special education and numbers that come through, and what's happening at Stony Lane is our TAs for the classroom are being used as one-on-ones because these kids have had them, they come in without them, and now we're using them as one-on-ones. And we have open classrooms. My daughter needs that extra help in second grade. I'm having her tutored. I'm having my son tutored, and which is fine. I can afford to do that, but it's very frustrating that there are TAs in those classrooms that are being used as one-on-ones. So instead of giving the academic help that could be used for other kids, they're needing to do it for safety and other reasons within the school. So I implore you to give us some more TAs in the next coming year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can disclose that there were no votes taken in executive session. Can I have a motion to seal the executive session minutes? So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any exemptions from the consent agenda?
We need to table 5 and 6 under personnel.
I'll offer a motion to table 5 and 6 under E.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda except items E5 and E6?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Unfinished business, we have policies, IHBG, the homeschooling policy, and the BEAR, the school committee meeting proposed 2016-17 calendar. Can I have a motion to approve the homeschooling policy?
So moved.
And I'll second that, but can we have a
Discussion?
Yeah. We usually, in the past, when we've altered that policy, we've usually checked in with the Homeschool Association just to make sure that they know if any of the changes are significant. I don't know whether Michelle has an idea of whether or Phil has an idea of any of the changes are like really major, or are they
they're not significant, and it was the
Recommendation. Oh, sorry. Let me finish.
It was the
Did you get
recommendation
sentences?
of our attorney.
Okay, I recall this conversation. Okay. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Can I have a motion to approve the school committee meeting proposed 2016-17 calendar?
Motion to approve.
One second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion, please.
Oops, hold on.
Discussion?
Forgetting discussion.
Mary, which one are they approving?
Yes,
Here, do
I
we
submitted
discuss
an
it?
alternate proposal. I'll reiterate my comments from the last meeting that, we basically have a 2-month gap from November to January when there's potentially a lot of stuff that goes on. I know it's straddling a new committee to some extent, which to me means all the more to either clean up some stuff as much as we can before December 5th. And that month of December for new members, if there are, to get up to speed. And I have also made the point that there are too many meetings on Tuesdays after Monday holidays that I think limits the ability of members to digest the information, interact, and I know the superintendent makes himself available, but to allow for that sufficient amount of interaction that might need to occur. So I proposed some alternate dates, I think worked around the primaries and election cycles as well. I just can't support the reduced, the current calendar as it's proposed.
Are there any other comments?
Did you recommend changes to the calendar?
I thought this wasn't a discussion at the, this is the second time it's been on. Was it discussed at the last meeting?
It was tabled.
Able to provide more comments, which I
It
did.
was 2 meetings ago, okay.
Yeah, we got Mr. Jones's comments yesterday, so that's why it was on the agenda as it was. We had sent this out on January 6th, and then we resent it after the last meeting. And we got Mr. Jones's email yesterday, so that's why what you're seeing in front of you is different from what Mr. Jones was recommending. So Mr. Jones's recommendation, I have them right here, Bob. He is recommending, I have it right here on the front, bear with me for 1 second. Yeah. He is recommending that the October meetings be October 4th and October 18th.
Can we take a little piece at a time? What does the administration see as the issues with those dates versus? Okay.
Nothing. I don't. I personally don't.
I don't have a problem.
Nope, not at all. We just want your input is what we want. Okay.
I think
Mary,
Yep.
if you don't, why don't we
ahead.
take them a little piece at a time, and then we
Okay.
can kind of go through them? So, I mean,
Mr. Jones, the October 4th instead of the 11th, you're avoiding the Columbus Day holiday?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. And then
The 18th is 2
just
weeks
puts
later.
it 2 weeks later.
Correct.
Okay.
So what else?
And avoid the primary, I think.
Right. Well, and then Mr. Jones wants to add a meeting in November. Currently, what we had was November 15th only. Mr. Jones would like to add November 1st, because the 10th,
The 8th of the election, right?
I think you have the wrong date. Can somebody look at a calendar?
November
How's
8th,
this
8th is the election.
Oh, is it the 8th? I thought it was the 10th. So, yeah, so November 1st would be the Tuesday before Election Day. The last couple of years, we've been having only one meeting in November because of the holidays and whatever. And then this year was the problem with the Election Day. But Mr. Jones is asking to add a meeting November 1st. So those were the 3 changes that he
about December,
had.
What's that?
just checking out, December, we only have the biennial organizational meeting on December 5th, which is basically typically elect the chair and that's it, with no other meetings in December.
Correct. I think.
Problem being, it's December. You've got
Right.
Christmas and all the holidays.
I think the discussion we had is the committee has the right
We can add one in.
agenda items on the 5th. if it
And we could do
changes.
a special meeting at
And don't forget, you will have the joint budget meeting with the town in that month as well.
12.
Probably. That's about the timing.
And my feeling is that obviously the committee with the agenda can always propose not to hold a meeting if we think it's, if my concerns, prove to be unwarranted.
So you didn't have a December date that you wanted to add?
No.
Okay, okay, that's
Didn't we discuss that, on the 12th, if there is that joint meeting with the town council, we could move and reconvene if there was a need to meet on the agenda items?
As well, yes.
Because we'll already be at the end of that.
Right.
Linda?
I'm not opposed to Bob's recommendations or changes here. Administration doesn't seem like they are. And we could always, if there's no urgent business and we don't need that November 1st meeting, we can just call it off.
So I'll make a motion to amend the calendar. Oh, sorry, wait.
Yeah, I just want to say two more things. So, Mr. Jones, I think you were just using an old version of this, so I believe we think we're going to move the majority of our meetings to this location. So we will change the location at the top of the one that you had. That's not a problem. I just want to double check you didn't have an issue with that. And then the last thing I do want to bring up is how we had said that the meetings should really be called business meetings. They are not work sessions. Is everybody clear and okay with that comment as well?
Well, you remember what we discussed. I think we need to
We need
make
to amend the policy.
Our policy needs to be amended.
clear that,
We
yeah.
need to amend BEA now.
Need to make what clear, Mrs. Evans?
Well, the way we had it always was we had the split between work sessions and business meetings, so that if there was a very important issue, the public had the chance to have it on two agendas before the committee voted on it, like closing a school.
Oh, right,
Actually,
absolutely.
probably more than 2 meetings for that.
And we can still definitely have a work session if there's truly the definition of work session. The way we've been handling these meetings, they're not work sessions, they're
Right,
all
I agree
business
with, I
meetings,
agree
so-
with that, and I think we can weave that into the policy, some
Yep.
discussion of the larger issues being given more numbers of meetings, but I think that's a fine change.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion and tell me if I get any dates wrong, but so we'll amend the calendar that was proposed to add a meeting. Yep,
I believe there's already a motion on the floor and seconded. So
there is, but you could still make a motion to amend.
Okay, propose an amendment.
Yes, yeah, which is
Do
what
I
I'm
have to
doing.
withdraw the motion
Nope,
first?
nope,
No, amendment.
I can amend it. So if that's what I'm doing, a motion to amend, which is to approve the calendar with the following changes. We would add a meeting on October 4th, October 18th, and November 1st.
I don't think those dates are correct.
No?
No, you would strike October 11th.
Right, I was going to say, and remove October 11th and 25th, right? So is the rest of it right? So we'd add October 4th and 18th and November 1st, and subtract October 11th and October 25th. That's correct.
I'll second that.
Okay. And so now we'd vote on the amendment, and then we'd vote on the motion. Got it?
No, I don't like.
No.
That's how it works.
Can I have a motion to? No.
A vote on the
Vote on the amended motion.
On the amendment.
With Bob's included dates.
With Bob's included dates. Bob, you had to make this complicated tonight, didn't you? All those in favor?
Aye. And now we need to vote on the motion as amended.
But we already had a first and a second on that.
Yep. Yep.
So now all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank goodness, that's over and done with.
That's how that works.
All right, moving along. Let's see. So the next item on the agenda is the school committee's approval of the North Kingstown School District Strategic Plan for 2015 to 2018.
Introduce this item.
Go ahead, Dr. O'Shea.
This item, normally we would do in the fall, but we had used that time to set school committee goals, and it was, I don't know if I would say it's recent, about maybe 6 weeks ago we approved the school committee goals. So now we're prepared to approve the strategic plan, which was organized by a great number of people at our summer retreat and followed up with the committee in the fall. So the final draft of that with your approval is in your packet this evening.
Can I have a motion to approve the school committee goals? The strategic plan.
Strategic plan.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Discussion?
Aye. Any discussion?
Thank you. I have discussion.
You gotta speak up.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank the superintendent for clarifying my question. I think, the plan needs to be a living document. So on some of these goals for action steps, as they evolve, I think the discussion we had about setting some some concrete metrics. I think the superintendent said next FY17 Whitestone, something like graduation rates and sort of things. I think the response was right.
Yes, our goals document talks about learning more about exactly what goes into graduation rate data before we next year set targets based on that data.
Right. So I think my point is simply that, you know, we need to, or in next year's committee, needs to, you know, keep dusting this off just to assess, you know, how far we are along and any modifications we need to do, and then merge the goals with, as we're learning more with kids.
Any further discussion? I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So that brings us to the FY17 Superintendent's Preliminary Budget. I'd like to open it up to discussion.
Dr. Z, I know, I was going to say, we had tasked you, and I know I've seen the document, but not everyone has, with identifying some reductions that could be made to offset the addition of the pre-K coordinator.
Right. I'm going to have to pull that up. Give me a moment.
I have
Thank
it
you.
here.
Yes, last week the committee asked that I come up with $69,000 worth of cuts to my proposal to offset the pre-K coordinator salary, which is the one additional staff that we are adding this year. I just want to point out to the committee that this is not necessarily part of my proposal. It's not something I'm proposing that we do, but you did request these numbers, so I would consider the following items to be the least threatening to the overall program. We were going to add to our conference line. I'm proposing to cut that ad by $35,000. Those conferences are based not necessarily for administration, but for teachers in the district in particular who want to expand their professional development, attend a conference in their particular area and improve professionally. And often our professional development funds are stretched so thin that a principal doesn't have much leeway to make that available to teachers. So for years and years, a teacher may never be able to attend such a conference. Other professional services, Mary, can you help me with that one?
That's the other professional services is just basically a line item that we're, you know, I'm not going to tell you that we're not going to have a problem with it, but that's a line that we know generally every year we have some services that could be, for example, air quality testing that we might have in the schools. That's something we never know, but generally we know the amounts in those accounts run about the same. So if we have something that we end up needing to do that's sort of that consulting services next year and we don't have the money for it, we'll have to come back to you and figure it out. You know, it kind of is what it is.
I'm not certain that the $5,000 worth of supplies is in this category, but the rubbish disposal, legal services, and library books are all areas that we see we would be adding to a little bit, and we've taken away either all or some of that ad. And the library books is $2,000, and the legal services is $5,000, supplies is $5,000, and the rubbish disposal is $10,000. And combined, all of those items I just mentioned come to $69,000.
With the
No, go ahead, Sheila, you go first.
with the rollout of the Chromebooks, will that decrease the need for textbooks district-wide?
Dr. Humbert?
So eventually, we are hoping to move to all electronic resources and even some open resources, so that will defray the cost of textbooks. Right now, we're in a transition period, so the way we've been handling it is when a curriculum area is on review and we revise the curriculum, then we move forward to purchase materials following that. What we've been doing with textbooks is purchasing only classroom sets, and then the students are using electronic versions at home. So we purchase the electronic suite, which usually lately has been running about 6 years subscription. So instead of purchasing a textbook for every student in this transition, we only purchase for the classroom.
So, in the past few years, I've seen a slight decline, but I don't think 10% overall in the textbook line item. Is that a place where we could look next year to fund this position?
Well, I would be hesitant with that. We generally spend about $70,000, and last year we were close to that amount just with biology. For all of our classrooms, because all the students take biology. We have a lot of biology classrooms. So we're spreading out the high school sciences right now. So this year will be chemistry. They're expensive. You know how expensive books are. Then we have the AP books that have to be ordered, and they have a 10-year cycle, so those come up. Then there's the replacement books that happen, and there could be 25 replacement, like Algebra 1 books or a calculus book, and it all adds up. So we're very frugal with the $70,000 as it is. I mean, eventually I would see us moving in that direction.
I don't like to see us, first of all, it says library books. So are those books in the library for the kids to look at, not textbooks, but for younger? I hate to see those.
We've added to the library books budget. This takes away the ad.
Right.
So we'd be essentially spending next year what we're spending this year on library books.
Are we in need of replacing, or we're in pretty good shape with what we have budgeted for library books?
They will tell you no.
I'm sure the librarians will tell you we're in need of replacing.
There is actually really a very logical refresh formula that I've spoken to Pam Rowland about that we fall significantly short of.
Yeah, I don't like to see a cut in that line item personally. I think books are important not to do away with completely, but I'm old-fashioned like that, and also handwriting. The other areas, not so much concern, and we could revisit if we needed to. The professional development might be a concern also. But,
So we're not at a point where we need a number at this meeting. It's our next
in 2 weeks.
regular business meeting coming up.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, so February 23rd. I'll be prepared like I have been the last couple of weeks to try to estimate anything. I would really appreciate it if you could get to me ahead of time with any of your thoughts. Whether or not you all vote on it is different, but at least if I can have some estimates of what those amounts are, because you have to vote on a number. You can't just say, go back and figure out this or that. We have to have a number.
well, we could go to a number, and then
You could.
and you guys would figure it out later.
Exactly, as long as you said cut
Okay,
X amount
you
of
have to know the
dollars.
dollars.
And we're
Got it.
very clear on where you expected it to be cut from, if you had thoughts on that as well.
Okay, fair enough.
One point I do appreciate, as much as I would like to come back to people and say, okay, you tell me where I'm supposed to find this money, I do appreciate it when you ask for the administration's opinion on where would be the best places to look, because obviously we're closer to the final product and can better ascertain, exactly what we think would be the least threatening areas that we would have to go to. Not that I want to go anywhere, but I realize it's something that has to be done.
I thank Phil for presenting those. I would just point out to the committee that we should just be cognizant that really only solves the issue for a year, because we're really just taking back the increases. We level fund and find the right amount, close to the right amount. There's not 69,000 of savings in those lines in FY 18. So, to the extent we believe the position is necessary, the capabilities are necessary, and there'll be additional work next year, either resource it in a more sustainable way, whether that's permanent, general funding, or finding an offset, or some reorganization, or something of the capability. Just make the point we're sort of just delaying that resourcing year if we accept those reductions.
Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just might, because, I made a point, it hasn't changed in a week, that the timing obviously is not great. Obviously, the teacher's contract is not settled, and that's the biggest driver of the budget. So that's a very tough situation to be in. But I don't know if, Phil, you've gotten a response back from the charter schools to the questions I posed?
I have not yet.
Because, the Kingston Hill Lottery number is, while we won't know the specific number before we have to vote in terms of actual lottery selections, we might have a little more fidelity in terms of the specific quota they have, which is a somewhat big driver, because I think this game had to estimate based on historical and projections. So forcing them to abide by current state regulations, which they're not always good at, would allow us to maybe take a little more leeway in that one. But again, we need to get the answer back from them or RIDE on that number.
Jill, on charters, the charter and tuitions for next year is up about 6%. Are we expecting an enrollment increase?
And there's always a tuition increase as well. We had a 5% tuition increase in the current year from the prior year. And I won't know what that number is until, because we get those numbers from RIDE. Those are RIDE calculated numbers based on the district.
But it's ours.
Yes.
How did it go up 5% if ours?
That's the number that we have from RIDE.
Get that.
Luckily for us, in the year that we're in, we did not have as much of an enrollment increase, because I was only planning in the budget a 3% increase in the tuition. So we offset, and we still had extra. It was great that worked out, but I hadn't anticipated as high of an increase in the charter amount, the tuition amount, as what we got from RIDE. And it's that, did I have that down here?
Isn't it supposed to match
Based
our
on our
per
state
pupil?
aid or per pupil expenditure? No?
No, that's part of the problem.
Because don't forget,
Other formula.
there's an awful lot of stuff in there that we would have that they're not going to have for expenses also. So no, it's not going to be the same as our per pupil. And actually, I think our per pupil is higher than what this number is too, though. But it's not going to match. So last year I had budgeted $10,900, and it came in, I think we're at 12 something or 13 something, 12 something.
But again, this is up 6%. So why is next year's request up 6%?
Because I'm assuming 6 more students and 5% tuition increase. 6 students is pretty low compared to what we've seen in the prior years. We were seeing 10 to 15 more students going out. This year that we're in, we had significantly, it's pretty flat, but this is assuming 6 more students at 5%. Now, we could be in jeopardy there, because Kingston Hill Academy is looking at a significant increase in their population, and if they're allowed to do that, we could lose more than 6 students. But that's what this is about. It assumes 6 more students at a 5% tuition increase.
They're looking to add older grades, right? So
That's not real
No,
clear.
they were going to go up to grade 8. They wanted more slots for their K through 5
Right, so
instead of going up to 8.
5, and so my guess would be that they would phase that in by adding more kindergarten classes continually over the next few years. And so that's the issue we have, is that they would normally add 40 students. Based on the constraint they have from the state still, they should only add 20, which would be a decrease of 20 slots. But since we don't know whether they intend to follow RIDE, or RIDE will let them get away with, or whatever, it's a big issue for us. So we've asked for clarification from Kingston Hill to give us a number they intend to enroll based on their lottery, which I guess we haven't got a response back, although we've made it clear to RIDE too. We would like to know that information sooner than later.
Maybe we should send the school committee a letter at some point to RIDE.
Well, I think the RIDE guidance was the first step is the district is supposed to inquire of the other district, right? Since they're an LEA, technically. Right. And I think Phil has done that as superintendent, so we can't really address or ask for redress of any grievance until that local control has been tempted, and then whether Phil recommends that he'll satisfactorily addressed. The other wild card issues are the Green School was asked for an expansion. The RIDE's been very quiet. It's been there for 9 months. RIDE's been very quiet about the status of that and what will General Assembly legislation on this pass, which means we would have a say on that, or whether they'll sneak it in, whether they'll expand. I mean, it's not a lot for us, but I mean, it's only 9 students, but they want to almost double their size. So again, even fortunately, which is their estimate, that would be $90,000. So again, it's so variable. This is really a tough issue on those two sort of thing. And then I think as Mrs. King has said, some of these aren't set until the March census figures come in. So that's not until we're already in April, and that's assuming General Assembly follows any funding changes the funding formula, and then.
And you're not likely to know what they vote on until June. So you're way extended out, so you don't know likely of any final voting by the General Assembly. Sometimes it goes right out until the last week of June. You don't know.
Any other discussions?
I just want to bring up, I thank Mrs. King for providing on the out-of-district and the parochial and other support. I don't know if the numbers have changed enough. We can relook that. Probably not.
What do you mean relook that?
The Prout, Monsignor Clark busing situation.
You mean to change busing? You mean actual change transportation?
Right.
Okay.
Because I mean, the issue has always been that we had to provide an extra bus because we had to run 2 buses, right? Because their complaint that their students be on longer than
right.
Because of the geographic dispersity of their students. I don't know if the population has changed. I'm also wondering if it's possible to, I don't know if it's allowable, but to work with them to say, it might be cheaper for them to figure out a solution. We reimburse them at some point.
I'll definitely get started on looking at that.
I mean, I'm sure the parents of those students might prefer it too because it's still a long bus ride relative to them. I'm wondering if they have the ability to find alternate transportation solutions too, which may be cheaper for us. And I don't know if that's in our contractual agreement, but I think out-of-district busing is something we have more control over, right?
I'm not sure that I agree with that, only in that we are required to provide it. So that's
correct,
why
but I
would
mean
say
in terms
that.
of paying them to provide the capability as opposed to us.
I think in that respect, yeah, you are right. I don't think that we're prohibited from trying to do that. So I'll speak to transportation both on, and I'll update you on if there are any changes. I'm almost certain that if there were changes that eliminated a bus or a route or whatever, we would know about that. But I will check that and then see if there's any idea on something like this. That
I'm just not sure the public is always aware. I mean, that's as much as is $100,000, right? I mean, that's 2 or 3 TAs, if that's what you were worried about, right? Or just $100,000 in savings to the taxpayers. So, there's a lot of things like that that are mandates from the state that, come into play.
Really?
Okay, so 2 weeks. Vote. Call me. We got 2 weeks.
Bottom line number.
What's that? It's nice to see one.
If they have any comments or concerns from
Student
the high
point of
school
view.
student body?
Use the microphone.
Seeing that we're approaching February, actually we're in February now, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the getting rid of February vacation. I know that a lot of students talk about this, and I just wanted to say from my perspective, I think that it's very beneficial on many levels. First of all, we get a lot of snow days in February, January, so we're out of school a lot anyways. And having February vacation in with that, it kind of throws off the whole learning curve. It's very hard to get back into it, especially for the teachers after coming back from snow days and all that. So I think on that level, it's very beneficial. And I know some students might say that they don't like not having February vacation, but at the beginning of the school year, they definitely enjoyed having a longer summer. So from that point of view.
And you got a 4-day weekend this past weekend.
Exactly.
That's a bonus right there. And
Yeah.
you got another one next weekend.
Exactly. Yep.
That's good to hear.
We'll see if we can plan those snow days for the high schoolers on that weekend.
All right.
Thank you.
I'd asked Ally, there was a letter to the editor of the Providence Journal about cuts
Yeah.
to the arts program, and I don't know if you had any insight whether
Yeah,
that's
I can
a
enlighten you a
perception
little bit
or
on
something
that.
that came up, or
Well, in reading that, I have to say I, to a certain degree, disagree with that because I felt that our arts program is probably the best in the state, actually, to be honest. Yeah.
I provide a point of clarification. Last year, we cut 2 sections of art,
Okay.
but we did not cut any art option to any student who wanted to take art.
Okay.
It was basically a regular process in high school scheduling. Sometimes students want to take one elective as opposed to another, and we basically would increase where the students want to take the courses and decrease where everyone's taking 7. So there's a finite number in there. And so if we had 2 sections of less of, say, English or math, nobody would notice because everyone's taking English or math anyway. It just happens there's 2 sections less of it. So I just want to be clear that there was not an effort by anybody to say we want to reduce certain options in art.
Yeah. And I feel that the arts program is great.
Yeah, I would
think that there are a lot of opportunities that other schools don't
Sure.
have to begin with. So.
A lot of people would agree with you on that assessment. I spoke with Mr. Verrier on topics like this with the Democracy Night, and he and I have talked about the possibility of my visiting democracy classes. They run into an issue where if everybody did a lot of deep research on the high school proposals that they have for Democracy Night, this office and the high school office may be absolutely inundated with students requesting things, and we may not be able to get our work done. But we felt it might not be a bad idea for, say, Dr. Humbert and myself to come to those classes and just answer questions for people, and try to get rid of some misconceptions that people might have. You know, I mean, when that was happening, we heard people saying that we were cutting art by 40%, and you know, people hear things and they run with them, and you know, it would be helpful if they just, you know, talk to Dr. Manzeri or anybody else, and they could get a lot clarified right away.
I think that would be very beneficial to have that.
Well, we're going to try to make it happen this semester, so.
Am I looking at a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor?
I'm in shock.